Howdy, heck and hello, H2Os, Roller Bros, and Philip Georgievics alike. I'm your guide, Q. Welcome back to my favorite subreddit, r/AmITheAntagonist. We've got some insane stories to get into today. But first, I just want to get your guys' opinion on something. My girlfriend came up with this idea, and I thought it was super cool, of doing like 2 truths, 1 lie with some of the story subreddits I cover, like maybe entitled Parents, the revenge subreddits, and like neckbeard stories, because a lot of the stories on those subreddits sometimes feel far-fetched, so it'd be interesting to see if you guys could tell the difference between what was being passed off as a true story and was upvoted, and something that I've just entirely fabricated. So let me know, but let's get into the stories now. Okay, if you know me well at all, you know that cheating situations are usually very black and white on this channel, but this one's actually a rare exception where I had to think for a while. Would I be the antagonist if I told a close family friend that her husband cheated on her 4 years ago? So, my situation is a little different, so I thought I would confide in the good professional people of Reddit. A couple days ago, me and my brother were hanging out late night doing regular guy things, drinking, watching sports, etc. We haven't seen each other in maybe 5 or 6 years, so naturally we started talking about life and what's been going on the past few years. Towards the end of our conversation, we started to get towards the secrets. I mentioned something along the lines that I smoked weed for the first time and did various other substances. This was hard for me to tell because my whole life I was pretty much anti-drugs and such. We both laughed about it, saying, just don't let mom find out. The joke died after a little bit, and then he just blurted out, I cheated on my wife. At first it didn't register until I saw his face and he was dead serious. He begins explaining that this was something that happened about 4 years ago when his wife was always busy with work. She would travel a lot and be away for weeks at a time. He told me they were going through a tough time back then with lots of arguing, not communicating, and he felt really lonely. During the same time, my brother met a girl at his local gym, started off as friends, slowly kept bonding, and you guessed it, they did the forbidden dance. He told me this occasion only happened once, and he pretty much cut her off after that night because he started to feel guilty for a short while. A few months later, his relationship turned for the better for him and his wife. Pretty much after his wife's travels slowed down, his whole relationship has been great. They've both gotten promotions, bought a house, more family vacations. They also have a kid. He told me life has been good to him now, and he's just thankful things have finally worked out. As stated before, I hate cheaters, and I've always felt that the person being cheated on always has the right to know. I know for sure this would probably destroy their marriage, and there would be a fight for the kid. My heart tells me I have to tell her because it's the right thing to do, especially because I've known my brother to cheat one other time on an ex-girlfriend a couple of years before his current wife. My brain tells me it's none of my business and I should keep my mouth shut. I don't want to see their kid go through that pain either. On one hand, I betray my brother if I say something. On the other hand, I betray our close family friend, which is actually his sister-in-law. I don't know why he said close family friend, because I know this secret and I don't say anything. I wish he never told me. Ignorance is truly bliss. So there it is. Would I be the antagonist if I said something? This one is just, oh my god. This person said there would be an update in the edit that they have down below, which pretty much only says why they said family friend instead of sister-in-law, so it's not really relevant. But there has been no update, and this was posted 29 days ago. This is, in my opinion, one of those cases where, like, if this were an episode of Law and Order, right before the verdict was about to come out, it would say, like, executive producer Dick Wolf, and you'd never know how it turned out. Because I really have no clue what the right thing to do in this scenario is. Because on one hand, he cheated once when things are bad. What if things go bad again? What if she has to start traveling again? What if he gets lonely again? Loyal people don't just cheat because they got lonely. They just freaking tough it out and wait until that person gets home. It sucks, but it's what you have to do. You're in a relationship with somebody. You're married to somebody. But on the other hand, I do try to believe in people's ability to change, and maybe this was a wake-up call for him, and he's able to just be a better person from now on, and you don't have to tear apart that family by exposing this information. I don't think there's any good answer. If you feel like you have a definitive answer, you just have some opinion, please let me know, because I'm at a loss here. Am I the antagonist for telling my daughter she cannot introduce her African American boyfriend to her grandparents? Let me just preface this by saying I have absolutely no problem with interracial relationships. Now that the air is clear, let me continue. My daughter Anna has recently started to date an African American man, Jamal. While I'm not exactly what you would refer to as liberal, he's a nice young man, and as long as my daughter is happy, I'm happy. That's like a red flag right off the bat. Like, why do you need to qualify that as saying I'm not what you would refer to as liberal? I didn't think of interracial marriage as like a liberal value or a conservative value nowadays. It should be just like a common value that most people are behind, but I guess this is the problem in the situation. The problem is Anna is rather naive about the community she lives in. While her friends are quite content to see a relationship like hers, more than a few tongues are wagging in the community, and a few people have privately expressed their concern to me. As I said, I have no problem with mixed relationships, and I've set them straight, but I'm painfully aware of how these matters are viewed by certain segments of the population. My parents are planning to come and stay with us for a week, and Anna expressed a desire to introduce Jamal to them now that things were getting more serious between them. I told her in no uncertain terms that this wasn't going to happen. I may have no problem with Jamal, but they absolutely will, and even when the relationship ends, they won't forget it. They might even go as far as to cut her off entirely. Anna was extremely upset by this and implied that I was racist and more concerned with what my parents think than how she feels. As I said, I know my parents. They simply aren't okay with mixed relationships, and if Anna were to bring Jamal over even as a friend, they would be furious both at her and me. Anna is currently staying with Jamal and doesn't want to speak with me right now. My wife stands by me even though she knows very well how my parents are. They had a problem with her for months over the length of a skirt she wore when I introduced her to them, for Christ's sake. But a close friend I confided in told me that I have behaved like an ass and that I needed to focus more on my daughter than pleasing my parents. Okay, let me just start off by saying I don't think there's any problem with you not wanting your daughter and her boyfriend to meet your parents, but that is only specifically because I don't think there's any reason that your daughter should have a relationship with your parents, because if they're the sort of people that are not only against interracial relationships, but against associating with black people in general, because you said if she were to bring over Jamal even as a friend, they would be furious at both of you, I don't think they're the sort of people that anybody should associate with, really. I understand, like, being old school or just being raised in a different time, but, like, dude, I hate to bring up the current year argument, but, like, this would have been ridiculous in 1980, you know? It sounds like you've got problems in your family. It sounds like you've got problems in your community if people are already talking about this relationship in a negative way because they're two people of different races. Like, Anna, I'm not saying you need to jump into anything and, like, run away with Jamal right away. Like, you guys haven't been together for super long. Apparently, it's just become serious enough for him to meet other people in your family. But you should genuinely think about getting out of that community as soon as it's financially possible for you. Because I wouldn't want to exist in that sort of community where people are going to talk weird about me because I'm dating somebody that's not in the same race as me. This is just so foreign to me. I mean, I didn't grow up in a very racist area, so I guess it makes some sense, but damn. And maybe I'm being naive thinking this isn't very common. I know racism exists, obviously. I just didn't think people would actually be vocal in this day and age about an interracial relationship being a problem. But anyway, if this sort of thing is common around you and you think I'm being naive, let me know where you live so I can avoid it like the plague. Am I the antagonist for telling my girlfriend's daughter she's not my daughter, so don't expect me to pay? Me and Dio Mara, 12 female, have had a rough summer. She's been more defiant than usual. I've been dating her mom Mara, 30 female, for 2 years now. 9 months ago, they moved in with me, Maple, 33 male. Both Dio and Mara have an on-again, off-again relationship with Dio's dad, Dynasis. He's pretty much never paid child support, comes and goes as he pleases into Dio's life. Typical crappy part-time dad. I've tried to fill the dad role in her life while still understanding boundaries, taking things slow, etc. This summer, Dionysus decides he wants to be a real dad and takes Dio in for a month. Good for him, not my business, and Mara agrees. When Dio came back home because school started, she was a lot different. Really mean to me, very dismissive. A few days ago, she got caught shoplifting at the mall. Security took her in and then called Mara, who didn't answer, then called Dionysus, who didn't answer, and finally me. I answered. They told me I had to pick her up or she'll be handed over to juvenile. I didn't say anything to her while I picked her up. I apologized to security, apologized to the store. I even tipped the security guards plus the store employees because it's messed up that they had to deal with that. I assured them Dio would be punished appropriately. I'm speaking to her in a strong, affirmative voice while we're in the car. Not yelling, but in a fatherly tone, I suppose. I'm telling her how messed up it is to steal, and how I don't mess with thieves, and how I absolutely don't voluntarily mess with any kind of police, so I don't appreciate any of this, nor will I accept it in my house. She snaps back that I'm not her dad, so don't ever tell her what to do. From now on, if I want to tell her something, I need to clear it with her real father first. That killed my soul. For the past year or so, I've treated her as my own daughter. I've paid for their housing, I've paid for her mom's car, her schooling, her food, everything. Her biological dad dropped a $100 check off one time in the past year. The check bounced, so I had to call him up, and he brought cash over. I told Mara about all of this. She was appalled at what Dio said, but she never made Dio apologize because she's not wrong, you're not her dad. A couple days later, Dio asks me for some money to pay for her uniform/accessories she needs for a sport she's involved in. I say go ask your dad. She scoffs and said her dad doesn't have the money for it, so I have to pay for it. I tell her I'm not her dad, so don't ever tell me what I have to pay for. She cried to Mara, who tells me I'm not being an adult about this situation. Mind you, I never received an apology or a thanks for our entire previous situation. Mara says Dio is a kid and I need to stop acting like a kid too. Alright, this one is not fun at all. This is terrible. I don't think it was the most mature thing to do to say, hey, I'm not gonna pay for this, go ask your dad about it. Like, yeah, that might not have been the most sensitive way to deal with this scenario, but I do think you're in a really rough spot. She doesn't respect you at all, and you're paying for all her stuff, and I honestly think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the mom having an honest conversation with her daughter about the fact that you've been here for her, and you're paying for all her stuff, so you do have to respect her as another father figure in her life, even if she wants to reconnect with her biological father. At the end of the day, I really feel for this kid being in like a broken home situation, and a lot of people were speculating in the replies that something definitely happened when she was with the biological father that made her distrust or have more disdain towards her mom's new boyfriend. At the end of the day, yes, the kid is a kid, but kids are very easily influenced and their brains are super malleable, so if the mother does not take this opportunity to sit down and say, hey, you might not have liked what my boyfriend had to say, but he's right about shoplifting being unacceptable, and he's trying his best to keep this a stable household so that you can grow up and have a normal life. This girl could end up turning into somebody that doesn't respect the people that take care of her, and that could be a really, really bad path to go down. Hey, I'm gonna be streaming on Twitch in around an hour from when this video is released, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, tonight it's gonna be going down. I'm gonna be hoping that my capture card functions more properly this time. I tweaked some settings and stuff, so it should be a more enjoyable stream to watch than it was the last time that I did one. And feel free to let me know if you're interested in that one truth or two truths, one lie sort of storytelling or story thing that I'm trying to do. Man, my brain is just scrambled eggs at the moment. I think it's because I have to stream in a little while and I'm like stressed trying to release the video and stuff. But anyway, skate on to the best of your abilities, guys. Make sure you're drinking more water. I hope you're doing well out there, and I'll see you very soon.